So one of the things I don't really get to talk about too often on this channel is just how much of a comic book fan that I am, especially old school comic books. And one of my favorite runs of all time is Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run. It's fantastic, and in honor of the new Swamp Thing TV series that's coming out, I figured it'd be a good time to cover that series, even though it's only 2 movies, and that's why we're doing a mini timeline, and see if it has any continuity. Our first on-screen Swampy was back in 1982 in a feature film written and directed by none other than Wes Craven. The opening tells us that it takes place not long ago, so a little in the past from the year it came out in, most likely so probably sometime before 82. We meet this lady. Just call her Billy. Krug pops in, as does Darkman's Polly, and Barbeau meets Security Chief Ritter and goes to work for Laura Palmer's dad. They're wearing these security badges, and the shot's not too clear, but I was able to find the actual movie props of these, and they clearly state that they expire in 1982, and Alec writes in a notebook dated March 7th, so since their badges would be expired, were most likely set in March of 1981, which fits with the opening of Not Too Long Ago. Their invention causes rapid plant growth, and then there's penetration. I don't have a joke for that. It's kind of its own joke. Thugs attack, and Ritter is revealed to be famous criminal Anton Arcane, and he was wearing a mask, a perfect rubber mask that was undetectable even in these multiple close-ups. There's an explosion, and Alec is doused in the experiment and explodes in the swamp. When they try to kill Cable, the Swamp Thing is born and saves her, and then we meet young Jude, who's awesome, and oddly enough, this is his only film. Swampy is truck-proof, and Bruno's pants are belly-button-proof. Seriously, dude, how high do you need those? Meanwhile, if you've wondered about how far the superhero movies have come in the past 30 years or so, take a look at this suit, and consider that this is the best that we had back then. Need a plant man? Just pop him in a rubber suit, and who cares if you can see the folds? I mean, there's a fan boat chase. I learned what those were called between the Police Academy video and this one. Thanks, guys. And in it, you can actually see that the suit is ripped and kind of see clothing underneath. Jude gets killed, but Swamp Thing heals him, although I'm not quite sure how he knew that he could do that. He gets his arm chopped off and kills Ferret, and then finally figures out the whole vocal cord thing. And then they finally trap him with Swamp Thing's greatest weakness, thin nets. Arcane duplicates Alec's formula and gives it to Bruno, who mutates into a rat person, but the formula has a cool side effect. It shrinks clothes to fit a mutation. Forget the whole plant thing, that application alone could make $1 million. Arcane takes the formula and starts to mutate, while Alec uses the sun to regrow his arm, and aw, look how cute the little guy is. Arcane becomes, a boar monster with an unmoving face and, whoops, a torn armpit. He stabs Cable, so Swampy heals her by groping a boob. I mean, he keeps his hand there a really long time. He kills Arcane by stabbing him and then goes off alone. He took 7 years to return in 1989's The Return of the Swamp Thing, now directed by Jim Wynorski, which kicks off with a giant leech monster, Monique Gabrielle, and Alec's return in a significantly better-looking suit. The opening credit features lots of images from the comics, including Alan Moore's famous run. Spoiler alert, this movie is nothing like those. We meet Mrs. Sambora and her air-quote acting, and I guess Arcane's alive and human again? He's teamed up with Ursa, and they make human-animal mutations along with Dr. Rochelle, who's played by a guy named Ace Mask, and I'm not sure if that's a stage name, but most likely. Abigail is Arcane's stepdaughter, and instead of Jude, we get 2 kid comic reliefs, and they lay out a bunch of porn mags and say that they're the best of 1988, which most likely means that this one is either set in 88 or possibly 89 if they're older magazines. Swampy and Leechy fight, and they're just hitting 2 poles together, and for some reason this causes lightning sparks. Try not to read too much into sparks flying as they slap the poles. Swamp Thing doesn't do subtext. This newspaper shows a date of August 19th, 1988, so that's solidified, and we see flashbacks to the first movie with most of the actors' faces covered. And Alec reveals that he also doesn't know how Arcane survived, and I should point out that he's really improved his speech skills. He's blown up, and they say that Rochelle and Lana found Arcane in a swamp and saved his life and restored his humanity, explaining his survival. And what's the point of this cell door? I mean, Abigail would easily be able to fit through that hole the second someone wasn't right by the door. Alec regrows his body, and he and Abby, immediately hook up. She eats hallucinogens and sees human Alec, who's definitely not very wise. And why does a swamp elemental need a baseball bat to fight? He can control plant life. He don't need no bat. Arcane gets Abby and tries to steal her life force, and there's a big final fight with this mutant whose rubber head doesn't want to hold its shape. The lab explodes, killing Arcane, and Alec once again magically restores a lady friend. There was also some other media of Swamp Thing. There was a cartoon series for a little while.
Swamp Thing! You are amazing!
And there was also a syndicated TV series which also featured Dick Durock as the Swamp Thing, and basically had the same suit. It ran for 72 episodes, and you should check it out, if only for just the greatness of how they write off the kid character of the TV show. He's literally locked in a cage and kidnapped by the villain and never seen again. They mention him at some point and say that he was freed, but it's like 3 seasons later. It's pretty awesome. So there you have it. It's 2 movies. They actually have a pretty good continuity. Not a whole lot of continuity, I guess, besides Arcane coming back. They don't really mention a lot of the dates and everything. So there's not a lot that kind of fractures the continuity, but they're both a lot of fun. I really enjoyed both of these movies. I have fond memories of my childhood of them. These special effects are pretty terrible. They're very, very dated, but it doesn't matter. They're just a lot of fun anyway. So I recommend checking them out. That's about it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy Swamp Thing. I hope the new TV show is pretty good. I'm really looking forward to that. It looks pretty cool. And like and subscribe and do all that good stuff. Share this out on the social medias. Do it up on the Reddits and the Facebooks and all that good stuff. And then also check out my Patreon page over here. And thank you to my patrons who are kind enough to help support this channel, which you can do too. But if not, you can just keep watching because there's going to be another great video very, very shortly. So thanks a lot. See you soon.